What's happening, family? It's CASSPORTS again, back for another afternoon with my people. Now, as usual, before I get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people that just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. That's all. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT, the Mighty Rise Podcast. Mike Masick. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS, the Box Storian. This is the Thursday afternoon edition. How's everyone doing this Thursday afternoon? They shut me out yesterday. YouTube wouldn't let me on. But they can't keep a good man down because I'm back today. Miss Cass just told me O.J. Simpson passed away today. Wow. I guess he was, in his 70s? Salute to O.J. Simpson, the juice. Had a little difficulties a few years back there, but he gave us some thrilling running during his football years. But the juice passed away today. O.J. Simpson. Everybody okay today? We're back for some more boxing talk. Because you know, if it's a weekday, 2 o'clock, it's the Box Story. Today we're going to be talking about the 80s. This was supposed to be yesterday, but we just shifted everything forward today. I was supposed to finish the decades up today, but tomorrow is the profile, the Motor City Cobra, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, and then we'll finish with the 90s on Monday. Okay, that's how we're gonna do it. Well, we got the 80s coming in after that big golden era in the 70s. The 80s didn't disappoint. We had Pro Box yesterday. I'm gonna start a little early because remember, I had to start early on Tuesday because I had so much for the 70s. I got even more for the 80s. More fights and significant events. So we're going to start about 2:15. Quick Pro Box preview. And then get into these 80s. Justin James, hashtag JBT. Luke Justin. Welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS, the Box Story. Missed my people yesterday. But we're back today. The history of the decade of the 1980s. We're going to do a brief history. We are going to look at some fights and significant events from the decade. And then we'll finish up with, I got 10 of the top fighters that competed in the 80s. And we're going to do a little profile on 10 of the top guys that fought in that decade. You know, like, the Four Kings, all their fights were in the 80s. Mike Tyson came around. Michael Spinks. Larry Holmes was still in his prime. So we're going to get into it very shortly. Salute to Tay in the building. Welcome to Tay. Welcome to Tay. And Tay, welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS, the Box Story. Hope you stick around and enjoy the show. Just talking all that boxing history. That's how we do it over here. I've been going through the decades. I started at the 1920s. Been at it for about 2 weeks. We're all the way up to the 1980s today. And we take a break tomorrow because it's the hit. We do a profile every Friday. This week is Thomas the Hitman Hearns. So don't miss that. That's going to be a good one. How's everybody this Thursday afternoon? Pulled up on another weekend straight ahead. 2 cards this weekend. We got Abdullah Mason in the building on Saturday. So, you know, you got to get there early for Abdullah because his last 2 fights have not lasted long at all. At all. He gets them up out of there. He's fighting a guy by the name of Ronald Ron. Cool name. But I hope Ronald Ron brings his pillow with him because he just may need it in there with Abdullah. What is Abdullah about? 18, 19 years old? That youngster has a bright future. I expect big, big things from him. Yes. But welcome, Tay. Good to have you. They call me the box historian. That's a boxing historian. That's me. 2 to 4 every day. Lead you right on up to The Voice. Just Do Boxing. And this is the JBT network. Just boxing talk. That's all it is. D for the win in the building. What's up, D for the win? You dropped by for that history of the 1980s. I got a good one for you today. Yeah, they wouldn't let me on yesterday. I guess they thought I was going to give up. I'm right back today. Can't let my JBT teammates down. They call me 2 o'clock shorty. We're going to talk about the Pro Box card real quick. And then we're going to get into the 80s. I usually start about 2:30 to give more people time to get in. But today, I got a lot of significant events and fights from the 80s. So we're going to start about 2:15. Yeah, D for the win. It was a great era. That's the era when I really, I started watching boxing in the 70s, but I was very young. But the 80s was when I first started understanding the sport. It really became a hardcore. Yeah. 4 Kings era. Who can ever forget that? Those 4 legends going at it against each other. 9 great fights. We're going to talk about them too, because it happened in the 1980s. Ali, Frazier. And you know what's so strange? The way Ali and Frazier's careers were tied together for those 3 great fights. They ended up retiring a week apart. Joe Frazier retired first, and then the next week, Ali retired. Isn't that something? 8 days apart, as a matter of fact. Yeah. We're going to address all of that today. CASSPORTS, the box story. History of the decade of the 1980s. You see him from left to right. Mike Tyson, the Hitman Thomas Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and the Sugar Man, Sugar Ray Leonard. And that's Iron Mike Tyson, by the way. Don't forget that. Al Booger in the building. Salute, Al Booger. How are you today, bro? Welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS, the box historian. Missed y'all yesterday. I sit here until about 3 o'clock and I couldn't get in, so I just shut it down. The Boxing Menu Podcast Plus. Salute everybody that haven't done it already. Please get over there and subscribe to that brother. Putting out some good fire content. And if you were subscribed to him, he had to start his channel over again. So if you didn't know, you might have to resubscribe to him. But salute to the Boxing Menu Podcast Plus in the building. Appreciate everybody for stopping by today, rocking with me. Really appreciate it. Remo, hashtag Let's Talk Fashion, hashtag JBT in the building. Yeah, we got another fire hashtag Let's Talk Fashion out there from Remo. Make sure you check that out. Fire channel. A blend of fashion, sports, entertainment, and life. Remo, hashtag Let's Talk Fashion, hashtag JBT. And Y'all haven't heard about the JBT network. That's a fire channel of people that just love to talk boxing. That's all. Just boxing talk. That's all we do. Let's touch on this Pro Box real quick and then get into the show. Now, you know, Pro Box from the White Sands Event Center, Plant City, Florida. With Angelo Leo versus Eduardo Baez was the main event. And Leo earned his 4th consecutive win last night, beating Baez by unanimous decision. Baez came out strong in the first round. It was looking good. But Leo took over and dominated the rest of the fight. Showed his boxing IQ, and he's got some pretty good power. All 3 judges gave it to Leo, 97-93, 98-92, 2 times. Now, Leo is the WBA Continental North America Federation champion, featherweight, but a shot at one of the big 4 sanctioning bodies titles could be in his near future. Okay, then in a well-matched 8-round super flyweight contest, Jacob Bradley Gomez kept his unbeaten record intact with a hard-fought majority decision over scrappy Jose Arellano. In the next fight, it was another super featherweight fight, also scheduled for 8 rounds. Dominique Valley improved to 9-0, 7 knockouts, starting out with a pretty good knockout rate there. He got a 2nd round stoppage over Angel Vasquez, the Percio. Okay, then 20-year-old Yoel Angeloni. He stamped himself as a fighter to watch. He got his man out of there in 74 seconds. He was going up against a 42-year-old guy, Michael Williams. But he did get him out of there in 42 seconds. And that was in the welterweight division. And that was Pro Box last night. Don't sleep on that Pro Box. You see some pretty good boxers on there. The Angelo Leo in that main event, he's the guy to watch. Okay. Now let's get into our history of the deck boxing in the 1980s. Just like I said, I got a lot of material, a lot of significant events and fights to cover today. So I'm going to start at 2:15. I normally start at 2:30. There's a lot of stuff to cover today. And no, I didn't report there, Remo. YouTube wouldn't let me on, man. They couldn't hold me down. I'm back here today. I know everybody heard O.J. Simpson passed away today. Miss Cass just informed me of that, like just before I came home. Yeah, the juice. You know, he had some difficulties, you know, with the legal difficulties of, you know, toward the 90s. But he did give us some good times during his football career, though. He was the first man to rush for 2,000 yards. Passed away today, O.J. Simpson. Okay? Yeah. But history of boxing in the 1980s. That's what we're doing today. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the show. Take a drink of my ever-fresh lime juice I got here. Also got a slide presentation. Let me go to the top. We got that bad man, Abdullah Mason in action this weekend. Can't wait for that. Get there early. He's fighting Ronald Ron. Cool name. But Ronald might be taking a nap. Okay, let's go. History of boxing in the 1980s. Al Booker says juice to the juice. Okay, now boxing in the 1980s had a tough act to follow because that 70s, man, they had all those they had like 6 different champions just dominated their divisions in the 70s. You remember Roberto Duran, Esteban de Jesus, Alexis Arguello. We had Ali come back to take its place as the face of the sport in the heavyweight division. That's what the 80s was following, okay? Now, boxing in the 1980s was filled with important fights, events, and personalities that shaped the sport, okay? Boxing in the 80s was shaped by many different situations, such as the continuous corporate battle between the different world sanctioning organizations. Because that's the 80s was when all four of them finally came around, because we had the WBA and WBC from the 60s, and then the IBF and the WBO both came around in the 80s, right? It was continuous corporate battle between these different sanctioning organizations. Also, in the 80s, we had the void left by Muhammad Ali as a sports ambassador, right? And the consequent search for a new boxing hero. Then we had the continuous presence of Don King as the sport's most famous promoter. And we had a surge of some rival promoters such as Bob Arum, Butch Lewis, and Murad Muhammad. And it was major rule changes in the 80s. Joy Fank's in the building. Salute Joy Fank. Good to see you, my brother. Joy says we here. Appreciate everybody stopping by today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Okay. Yeah, we had Don King was the most famous promoter, but we also had the Bob Fathers. We had Butch Lewis. I think he promoted Michael Spinks, and we had Murad Muhammad. It was the major rule changes in the 80s. They went from 15 to 12 rounds. You know, that happened when Duke Kook Kim died from injury sustained against Boom Boom Mancini in their fight. So they dropped fights to 12 rounds. Originally, they had 12 and 15 round fights. Then finally, in the late 80s, they went to just 12, which it is now, 12 and 10. They did have 10 round fights back then too, though, okay? But no more 15. Now, remember, we had that void left by Muhammad Ali as the face of the sport. And in 1986, Mike Tyson emerged as a fresh new face in the heavyweight division. Remember that? And like I was saying, the heavyweight division has seen a decline in champion quality level, particularly on the WBA side. And, you know, this was after Ali's retirement. And later in the decade, after longtime WBC ruler Larry Holmes, you know, after he left out of his prime, okay? So after Ali's retirement, boxing was devoid of exciting and bombastic figures to draw crowds. And the heavyweight division frequently rotated title holders until Tyson came along. You know, he became champion by defeating Trevor Berbick. Now, I remember that fight. As the referee was going over the rules one last time before the fight began, Berbick looked terrified as he and Tyson stared each other down. Remember that during the stare down? Berbick was looking like he'd rather be anywhere else but there. And Berbick ended up just trying to survive 36 minutes of brutal power from Tyson, who was undefeated at the time. Tyson was 28-0, had 26 knockouts coming into that fight, right? That's intimidating. And he caught Berbick with his signature left hook. And that left Berbick unable to gain his equilibrium. He fell down twice trying to get back up. And that was it. The fight was over. The boxing world had found a new king for the rest of the decade of the 80s. And Iron Mike soon became an international sensation. Okay, didn't take him long. Now, another important aspect of boxing in the 1980s was the Four Kings. Yeah, remember them? The Four Kings. And you cannot have a discussion about boxing in the 1980s without talking about the Four Kings. You know, it would be a very incomplete discussion. Now, the Four Kings were The Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, the Motor City Cobra, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, who's the profile tomorrow, by the way, and Sugar Ray Leonard, who had the most Four Kings fights. Sugar Ray had 6. Okay. Now, these 4 fighters competed against each other in a series of 9 total fights. And all these fights happened in the decade of the 80s. They were competitive, exciting, and historic. And there were many memorable fights in this series. Okay? One of the most memorable was the 3-round war between Hagler and Hearns. That fight won Fight of the Year. Yeah. A 3-round fight won Fight of the Year. So you know there had to be a serious rumble there. 3 rounds. Had to be some serious thrilling action for a 3-round fight to win Fight of the Year. And round 1 was Round of the Year. Yeah. And all 4 of the 4 Kings are known today as legends of the sport of boxing, and all-time greats, 4 of the greatest fighters of all time. And all of them are members of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And there was another boxer from that decade that competed with those 4 guys. But you know, there's only 4 Kings in the deck, so. But that 5th guy was Wilfred Benitez, remember? And of all the possible matchups between these 5 fighters, Benitez versus Hagler was the only one that never happened. And the circle of fights between these 5 actually began on November 30th, 1979, when Sugar Ray Leonard beat Benitez by knockout in the 15th round of the Sugar Ray's first title, WBC World Welterweight title. And on the same night, Marvin Hagler fought to a draw with Rito Antuofermo. That was Hagler's first shot to become the world middleweight champion. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulty, but we're back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulty. Give me a thumbs up. Am I back? I think I'm back. Oh my goodness. Okay. Now, where were we? We were summing up the decade. After Ali's retirement early in the decade, the heavyweight division became the tale of two champions. Larry Holmes ruled the first half, and Mike Tyson dominated the second half. And Mike dominated it like few champions in any era in history. And the light heavyweight division has rarely been greater or better than it was in the early 1980s, with Michael Spinks ruling that. Now, boxing was still a major sport on network television during the 80s. But the 80s was the end of the golden era of boxing. Okay, so let's talk about some fights and significant events that happened during the decade. Yeah. I should have stayed over there in the other office, but it's all good. We're back now. That's all that counts. Get my slide display ready for you. One more time, I'm gonna go to my phone. Jeez. Sorry about that, y'all. They shut me out yesterday now. I don't know what's going on. They trying to get me? Okay. Sorry about that. Might have to go to the phone for today. But on June 20th, 1980, Roberto Duran conquers the WBC World Welterweight title, defeating Sugar Ray Leonard by unanimous decision over 15 rounds. Now, this was the first fight of the Four Kings series right here. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran. Salute Aunt McQueen. Didn't let me on yesterday. Now they keep cutting off today. They're trying to get old CASSPORTS. Little CASSPORTS. So we're back. Okay. On July 6th, 1980. In Bloomington, Minnesota, Larry Holmes knocked down Scott Liddell in the 6th round and then stopped the partially blinded challenger in the 7th round to retain his WBC World Heavyweight crown. On August 21st, September 27th, 1980. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, September 27th, 1980. Marvin Hagler becomes world middleweight champion, scoring a technical knockout over Alan Minter on cuts in 3 rounds in London. The boxers didn't have to be protected by police from rioting Minter fans. See, they were mad that day that Hagler won that title. They was more mad at Minter than they was at Hagler. October 2nd, 1980. Larry Holmes retains his WBC World Heavyweight crown with an 11th round technical knockout over Muhammad Ali after beating Ali merciless in nearly every round. This fight was seen by many as one of the most despicable events in the history of the sport. Now, Ali had been in a hospital for treatment for a good portion of the months before the fight. It has been alleged that Don King made him fight for Ali to pay King the hospital bills King had gotten from Ali's stay at the hospital. Yeah, Don King was a slimy guy, man. He's still around. So, who needs the mafia in the sport when we got people like Don King, the Bob Father, Mauricio? Might have been better off with the mafia. The man had been in the hospital for months. Don King forced him to fight to pay him back his money from the hospital bills. November 25th, 1980. The No Moss fight. Sugar Ray Leonard regains his WBC World Welterweight title with an 8th round knockout of Roberto Duran, who quit inexplicably, leading to many rumors. Now, Duran claimed he had stomach cramps, but Duran's own manager said he didn't have stomach cramps before the fight, during the fight, or after the fight. Duran's manager said he quit because he was embarrassed. Okay? That came from Duran's team. Lonnie Lee, hashtag JBT, in the building. That's why he quit right there, because of those type antics Sugar Ray was doing. Sugar Ray was putting his hand down around his waist, lining up like that, hit him with the left hand when he wound up with the right hand. I believe that's the bolo punch. Duran just said, hell with it. I'm not playing with you, and quit. Yup, that's why he quit. It wasn't no stomach cramp, okay? Let's go to 1981. Okay. On May 23rd, 1981. Change, please. There we go. Wilfred Benitez becomes the first Hispanic and Puerto Rican to be a 3-time world champion, as well as the 5th boxer to do it. 5th boxer to become a 3-time world champion. And the first one to do it since Henry Armstrong 4 decades before. Okay? Wilfred broke a bunch of records that night. And I believe he also became the youngest fighter. I think he had already became the youngest prior to that, when he was 20 years old. But he broke a lot of records that night, too. On June the 20th, 1981. Alexis Arguello becomes the 6th 3-time world champion in boxing history when he defeats Jim Watt by decision in 15 rounds to win the WBC World Lightweight title. So he was right behind Wilfred. August the 21st, 1981. There they go. That was a bad fight there. Woo. In the Battle of the Little Giant, Salvador Sanchez, that's him on the left, defeats Wilfredo Gomez on the right by knockout in 8 rounds to retain his WBC World Featherweight title. And like I told you before, that is thought to be the official beginning of the Mexico-Puerto Rico rivalry. Those 2 two gentlemen right there. And if you want to watch a good fight, that's a good one. That's a good one for you to break down right there. And Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez, August 21st, 1981. And I promise I'll be there. On September 16th, 1981. Yeah, that's a good one. A much anticipated fight takes place. And Sugar Ray Leonard unified the WBC World Featherweight title with the WBA that was held by Thomas Hearns by knocking out the WBA's champion, Thomas Hearns, in round 14 at Las Vegas. Now, Thomas Hearns outboxed Sugar Ray twice. He was leading on all three judges' cards at that point, right there, 14th round, but he got knocked out. Then in the rematch in 89, I think Hearns won that fight, but they called it a draw, okay? Leonard and Tommy Hearns. December the 3rd, 1981. Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier's last fight fought to a draw, 10-round draw with Floyd Jumbo Cummings. And guess what? Joe Frazier retired on December 3rd. And guess who retired the very next week on December 11th? Muhammad Ali's last fight. He loses a 10-round unanimous decision. Future WBC World Heavyweight Champion Trevor Berbick. He had no business still in the ring. But isn't that something? Where those two guys' careers was tied together with those three big fights. And they both retired a week apart. Amazing. Okay, let's go to 1982. On January the 24th, 1982. Jose Eusebio Pedraza, I'm going to say Jose. Eusebio Pedraza retains his WBA World Featherweight title with a 15-round unanimous decision over Juan Laporte in AC, Atlantic City. The fight was controversial. Many observers thought they had seen Pedraza commit a large amount of infractions, which in their opinion could have led to points deduction or even disqualification. That's Juan on the left there. But he didn't get disqualified. On June 11th, 1982, there we go. After one of the most racially charged fight promotions in history, Larry Holmes retains his WBC World Heavyweight title with a 13-round knockout over the fighter dubbed as the White Hope, Jerry Cooney. Don King was right at the head of the line with the racially motivated. Even the president of the United States got involved too, Ronald Reagan. He had put a phone in Jerry Cooney's locker room to call him if he won the fight, but he didn't put one in Holmes' locker room. So after the fight, after Holmes won, they hastily put one in Holmes' locker room, but Holmes did not take the call, which I don't blame him. Should have had one in both locker rooms from the beginning, sir. Right? On July 21st, 1982, Salvador Sanchez is killed in a car accident in Mexico City, Mexico. And Salvador Sanchez is still thought as legendary and one of the best featherweights ever. 23 years old. He hadn't even reached his prime. Just think if he'd have went through his prime and had a complete career. There would be no argument as who the best featherweight is. 23 years old, his career was cut short and still arguably the best featherweight ever. Salvador Sanchez. On August 12th. Yeah, that was August 12th right there. Salvador had that car accident. We go to September 21st, 1982. Sugar Ray Leonard. Well, first, the National Football League Players Association launches a strike against the NFL, wiping out 7 games. CBS adds additional boxing telecasts during the strike. I remember that. Now, November 9th, 1982, Sugar Ray Leonard announces the second of multiple retirements in Baltimore. Leonard's first retirement came after the 1976 Olympic Games. He originally wasn't going to turn pro at all, but you remember the story with that. His, well, she wasn't his wife then, Juanita, was pregnant with their child, and then she let that out while he was at the Olympics. So then he came back and decided to turn pro. But originally, Sugar Ray was, after the Olympic gold medal, he was just going to hang it up. So thank you, Juanita. We would have missed that great career. Wow. Then the next day, wait a minute. With me for a moment. November 12th. Yeah, November 12th, 1982, the Battle of the Champions. Aaron Pryor retains his WBA World Junior Welterweight title with a 14-round knockout of Alexis Arguello. Arguello was attempting to become boxing's first 4-division world champion, and he tried it twice against Pryor. Pryor beat him 4 times, so he never did become 4-division. Thomas Hill, hashtag JBT, the mayor of these YouTube streets in the building. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to rock with CASSPORTS, Mr. Mayor, because you got to run a whole community. I know you're very busy. We got the mayor of YouTube in here. That's huge. He's a member of the JBT, too. It's real big. But then on November 13th, the day after this fight, we had tragedy in the ring. That's Ray Mancini on the right, Duke Kim on the left. Tragedy in the ring. Ray Mancini retains his WBA World Lightweight title by knocking out in round 14 Duke Kim, who passed away 5 days later, leading to the instituting of 12 rounds at the most as a mandatory fight distance and mandatory 8 counts quickly. It was also the last fight to air as part of strike replacement programming on CBS because of the NFL strike, which ended 3 days later. So that's when they started going to 12 rounds after this fight. But we still had some 15-round fights after that. But that's when the 12 rounds first came in. And this was the last fight on CBS because, not the last one, but the strike ended. So we did stop getting as many fights as we were getting at that point. Okay, because the strike ended. The players came back. They had the scabs out there. You might want to see them on TV. November 26th, 1982. Larry Holmes retains his WBC World Heavyweight title with a 15-round unanimous decision over Randall Tex Carr. After this fight, Howard Cosell quits as a boxing commentator, disgusted by what he described as mismatches. Howard would really probably be disgusted now then. Wow. Okay. December 3rd. And I don't know what is going on with this thing today. I'm back again. Back again, folks. Pardon me. Okay. Okay, let's try this again. We're going to 1983. Bear with me for 1 second, please. Petey Rican, salute. How are you? Welcome to CASSPORTS, the Box Historian. Okay, let's try this again. 1983. January 31st, 1983. In the first world title fight scheduled for 12 rounds instead of 15 in various decades, Rafael Orono retains his WBC World Junior Bantamweight Championship with a 4-round knockout over Pedro Romero. March of 1983. Michael Spinks unifies his WBA World Light Heavyweight title with the WBC one, defeating WBC World Champion Dwight Muhammad Quabi by unanimous decision in 15 rounds in Atlantic City. Here we go. On his 32nd birthday, Roberto Duran becomes the 7th fighter in history to be a three-division world champion, knocking out WBA junior middleweight champion Davey Moore in 8 rounds at New York City. Salute to Petey Rican. Welcome to CASSPORTS, the Box Historian. Okay. Let's go to September 1st, 1983. Tragedy strikes again. Alberto Davila wins the vacant WBO World Bantamweight Championship with a 12-round knockout over Kiko Leginis, who dies 3 days later. That's Kiko on the screen there. This is crazy. Okay. Okay, September 9th, 1983. Aaron Pryor retains his WBA World Junior Welterweight title with a 10th round knockout over Alexis Arguello. That's the rematch. Arguello was once again attempting to become the first man to win world titles in 4 different divisions. Both men announced their retirement after the rematch. Alexis just gave up on it. This was his second attempt to become the first man in 4 divisions. He lost to Aaron Pryor once again. On September 23rd, 1983. Jerry Coetzee of South Africa becomes the first African world heavyweight champion in history. and the first white man to win the World Heavyweight title in 24 years when he defeats Michael Dokes for the WBA championship with a 10-round knockout in Africa. And you know who the last one was? Had to be Rocky, that bad man, Rocky Marciano. Okay. Okay, November 10th, 1983. If this thing go out again, I'm going to just throw it out the window. November 10th, 1983. Okay. Marvin Hagler retains his world middleweight title with a 15-round unanimous decision over Roberto Duran. That was a good fight. Duran was also attempting to become the first 40-division world champion, okay? After Aguayo failed twice, Duran did not get it. One up against marvelous Marvin Hagler. On December 11th, 1983, Larry Holmes vacates the WBC World Heavyweight Championship and becomes the first heavyweight champion recognized by the fledgling International Boxing Federation. The IBF was just coming around, and they were handing out titles to established champions of other sanctioning bodies, you know, to get them get some attention to them, little prestige, you know. So Larry gave up the WBC. I think Donald Curry, a few other guys were guys that they gave the title to. Larry was one of them. December 13th, 1983. The IBF's first world title fight as Marvin Camel becomes world cruiserweight champion for the second time, knocking out Roddy McDowell in 5 rounds for the IBF vacant title. Now, Marvin Camel had been champion of the cruiserweight division for another sanctioning body. This was the first world title fight for the IBF sanctioning body. Mr. 1984. September 13th, 1984. The Julio, there he is. Julio Cesar Chavez knocks out Mario Martinez in 8 rounds to win the vacant WBC World Junior Lightweight title. That was Julio's first championship, 1984, the vacant Junior Lightweight title. Okay. On November 15th, 1984, at the Garden. Here's the Garden. New York's Madison Square Garden, an event called Night of Gold featured 6 American Olympians who competed in the 1984 Summer Games in LA. All 6 made their professional debut. Evander Holyfield, Mark Breland, Tyrell Biggs, Virgil Hill, Meldrick Taylor, and the great Pernell Whitaker. Of course, all 6 won. Appreciate everybody sticking with me. I had a little technical difficulties today, but hopefully. I mean, they wouldn't let me on yesterday. Now today it keeps cutting off. Why are they trying to get CASSPORTS? You know? Little CASSPORTS. December 8th, 1984. Little CASSPORTS. Why are you messing with me? Why are you messing with me, Remo? December 8th, 1984. Azuma Nelson wins his first world title, knocking out Wilfredo Gomez in 11 rounds at San Juan to win the WBC World Featherweight title. Ooh, he knocked out Wilfredo. That was big deal. Let's go to 1985. Hope everybody enjoying the show. Looks like everybody coming back. I don't blame y'all for going out. I would go out too, but I would come back. But appreciate it. Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more in the building. Melanie Queen 27 in the building. Salute to Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. And Melanie Queen 27 in the building today. Hey, what was I say? I'm on the wrong. They shut me out yesterday and threw me all out of whack. But I'm gonna get it together. Bruce Gas, salute. Melanie Queen 27, salute. Welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS, the Box Dorian. This is a history of the 1980s. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate everybody's support. Ooh, them likes are looking beautiful. Ooh-wee. Is this my channel? I done messed up and went on the wrong. Wow, wee. Them likes are awesome. Appreciate it. Okay. We're in 1985 now. March 6th. That ain't where I want to be, though. I want Mike Tyson. Where are you, Mike Tyson? Please, there he is. March 6, 1985. Future heavyweight champion Mike Tyson turns pro at 18 years of age, knocked out Puerto Rican Hector Mercedes in the first round to win his first professional fight. That was Mike Tyson's debut. Iron Mike. April 15th, 1985. Tax day. Gotta get them taxes in by this day. And on that day, in 1985, that was that big one between Marvelous Marvin Hagler and the Hitman. The War. Marvelous Marvin Hagler retains his undisputed world middleweight championship with a 3-round knockout over Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Round 1 of their fight was considered the greatest round in history by many. Okay, it was round of the year, and guess what? This fight was 3 rounds, but it was fight of the year. Can you imagine that? A 3-round, just 3 rounds, fight of the year. And it was worthy of it too, man. I saw it. I was right there. I wasn't at the fight, but I saw it. I was somewhere. I think I was somewhere on that closed circuit was still going on. Then wasn't the Bruce Gas. I saw it. That was crazy. Hearns, a lot of people say Hearns fought the wrong fight, but Hearns tried to box, but Hagler wouldn't let him. So Hearns said, hell with it, and started slugging it out with Hagler, because Hagler was cutting the ring off beautiful. Anybody want to know how to cut the ring off? Watch that fight. Hagler would not let Hearns box, okay? And Hagler had blood streaming down his face. That was a great fight. Yeah. Then on April 26, 1985, I cannot believe it's after that we're going to get it in. Okay? April 26th. 6 months after becoming a professional fighter, Jeff Bennick wins his first of 3 world titles. Yes, Jeff. Knocking out IBF World Bantamweight Champion Satoshi Shingaki in the 9th round in Australia, where Jeff was from, Australia. On May 19th, 1985? Yeah. That's a bad man there. Wilfredo Gomez becomes the 8th boxer to win world championships in 3 divisions, defeating Rocky Lockwood by a 15-round majority decision. Okay. Got the head moved up to junior lightweight. Okay. September 21st, 1985. Told you this thing go out again, it's going out the window. Miss Cash probably threw me out there behind it because she bought it. Anyway. September 21st, 1985. Michael Spinks makes history by becoming the first boxer to go from world light heavyweight champion to world heavyweight champion, defeating IBF ruler Larry Holmes by a 15-round unanimous decision. I thought Larry Holmes won that. Julio Cesar Chavez was also on the card. He defended his WBC World Junior Lightweight title successfully over Dwight Pratchett. Okay. That was a nice card. Remember it. Bruce Gas remembers it. November 13th, 1985. Halfway through the decade. I appreciate everybody sticking with me for all these technical difficulties I'm having. Now, this was Mike Tyson's first fight since Cus Amato passed away. He knocked out Eddie Richardson at 117 of the first round. What's that, like 77 seconds? It was his 12th fight. So he had 11 fights before Cus passed away, but he was 12-0. Okay, let's go to 86. Okay, starting out with January 17th, 1986. There he is, Bruce. There he is, Bruce Gas. Tim Witherspoon defeats Tony Tubbs by 15-round decision to win the WBA World Heavyweight title and become only the third boxer after Floyd Patterson and Muhammad Ali to become two-time World Heavyweight champion. Witherspoon Tubbs begins Don King's Heavyweight Unification Series that aims to have one universally recognized world champion. There is Bruce Gas, Tim Witherspoon. That's big company. He was only the third man to ever become two-time heavyweight champion. Floyd Patterson, Muhammad Ali. That's big company for Tim there. Yep. On March 10th, 1986. Who's with Marvin Hagler? There he is. March 10th, 1986. Marvin Hagler retains his undisputed world middleweight title with an 11th round knockout of John the Beast Mugabe. Thomas Hearns was also on the card. He won the NABF National North American Boxing Federation middleweight title with a first round demolition of James Schuler. And Gabby Gonzalez wins the WBA World Bantamweight title with a 7th round knockout of Richie Sandoval, who was critically injured and almost died in the days after the fight. But he survived. Wow. March 22nd, 1986. James Schuler dies only 12 days after fighting Thomas Hearns in a motorcycle accident in Pennsylvania. So that was 12 days after that fight we just talked about. That's James on the screen. He died. Damn, James in a motorcycle after that. July 12th, 1986. We're beginning to wind down. We got a profile of 10 of the top guys that performed in the 80s following this. But on July 12th, I got to go back to the top. Should be Evander Holyfield. It is. Evander Holyfield wins his first world title, the WBA Cruiserweight Championship, with a 15-round decision over Dwight Muhammad Quali. Okay. Let's jump to 87. 3 more years. Okay. Anybody come in? No. EMZID, MZ, salute. Welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS, the Box Story. We're doing the history of boxing in the 1980s. Okay. Everybody punch on that like button. It is appreciated. Appreciation button in the JBT. Okay. We're starting out with March 9th, 1987. Goodbye, Evander Holyfield. Okay. There's that bad man again. But I don't want him. Okay, anyway. March 9th, 1987. Well, yes, I do. No, I don't. Thomas Hearns becomes the 9th boxer in history to win world titles in 3 divisions, and the first American to do so since Henry Armstrong, knocking out WBC World Light Heavyweight Champion Dennis Andres, who was born in Guyana, but a British resident, knocked him out in round 10. After a 10-year absence, George Foreman returns on the card and beat Steve Zolski in round 4. That was Big George's return on that card that night, 1987. Okay. Bear with me a second. I got off track. Okay, that's where I was. Here I go. Back on track. April 6th. Know what that was. Y'all know what that was. It was considered by many to be the greatest comeback in boxing history. Sugar Ray Leonard comes back after 3.5 years before fighting to rob Marvin Hagler and win the Undisputed World Middleweight Championship. Okay? Leonard becomes the 10th boxer in history to be world champion in 3 divisions. Hagler won. Leonard knew. Y'all know the story. Leonard retired after the fight. Hagler waited 14 months trying to get Leonard to come back. Leonard wouldn't come back. Hagler retired after 14 months. The next month, Leonard comes out of retirement. That's a duck. That's the textbook definition of a duck right there. You waited 1 year and 2 months saying you was retired. Then when Hagler retired, 1 month later, you come out of retirement. You could have at least waited 6 months or something. What Hagler should have done, when Leonard came back that next month, Hagler should have came back. Okay? Leonard probably would have retired again. And Sugar Ray is one of my favorites, but that's the duck right there. That's the duck. I don't care what nobody says. Like my friend Jay Hardcore says, I ain't going back and forth with nobody. That is a duck. That's the textbook definition of a damn duck, man. Come on. October 29th, 1987. Okay, we're winding down. Thomas Hearns makes history, becoming the first boxer in history to win world titles in 4 different divisions, knocking out Juan Rodon in 4 rounds for the WBA vacant world middleweight title. So we finally got a 4 division champion. Remember, Aguero tried it twice. He couldn't get past Pryor. Duran tried it and couldn't get past Hagler. So finally, Hearns becomes the first man to win titles in 4 divisions. Just do boxing. The Voice is in the building, y'all. The Voice, woo, man, he was on fire yesterday. I was feeling sorry for Devin Haney fans. Woo. The Voice put his foot way up, baby. Woo-wee. I'm still burning up from that cook, from that build. The Voice builds. Did he build yesterday? Wow. Wait, good one, Voice. I enjoyed that thoroughly. And the Voice is coming up at 4 o'clock. Dre Finest in the building. Salute, Dre Finest. How are you today, my friend? Always good to see you. Welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS, the Box Story. We're talking about the 80s. Everybody punch on the appreciation button. I'm looking forward to the Voice today. See what he follows that up with, man. I'm not missing. I'm going straight from here to there. From here to there. I'm going to take you right up to the Voice doorstep. And then guess what? I'm going in the door. I don't know what y'all going to do, but I'm going to listen to the Voice after this. And I bet you I'll see all of y'all in there. But just do boxing coming up at 4 o'clock. Okay, let's go on. We're going to the 88, right? 2 more years to go in the decade. And we're going to do a profile of 10 guys that performed in the 80s. And we might have time to drop the link today. So, but January 22nd, 1988. Yeah. Mike Tyson retains his undisputed world heavyweight championship with a 4th round knockout win against former world champion Larry Holmes. And Mike Tyson said he was going to get Holmes back for what Holmes did to Ali, and he got him back. Same situation almost. Ali was way past his prime, no business in there with Holmes, and Holmes was past his prime. really to handle business in there with Mike. But Holmes said Don King approached him. He said first he told Don King no, but Don King said he had $3 million. So Holmes said then he told Don King yes. And he earned that $3 million. Look at that right there. Like knocked the sweat off of him. Looked like the mouthpiece coming out. Wow. Yeah, he earned that $3 million, Larry. Okay. March 7th, 1988. A couple more to go. Appreciate everybody rocking with me. Really appreciate it. Here's Jeff Finnick again, Australian boxer. He becomes the 11th boxer to win world titles in 3 different divisions, knocking out former world champion Victor Galihos in 10 rounds in his home of Australia. Okay? See, these guys keep going to these people. If I got the belt, you got to come to me. Okay. Well, no. If the money right, I'll go over there like they do. Money talks. The other thing walks, you know. Okay. July 29th, 1988. What went down on that day? Okay, let's see what went down. July 29th. In an extremely controversial fight, Colombia's Thomas Molinares becomes WBA World Welterweight Champion by knocking out Marlon Starling. I put Marlon on there because they say he should have won it. In 6 rounds in Atlantic City. Now check this out. Starling's camp protested that the knockout punch had landed after the bell. Therefore, it should not have counted. After further review, the WBA agreed that it was after the bell. Right? They agreed with Starling's camp, but decided not to withdraw recognition from Molinares as world champion. Shouldn't they have had the rematch or something? The WBA agreed that the man hit him after the bell to win the fight. But they just let it stand. Ain't that crazy? Don't the man at least deserve a rematch? That's crazy. But that's our sport. We love it. But we can complain about it. Now, remember I told you, when they first went to 12, they were still having 15-round fights. But right, this fight here, August 4th, 1988, this was the last 15-round fight in history. Jorge Paez defeats Calvin Grove by a majority decision. That's Jorge. That's Calvin. Okay? By a majority decision to become the IBF World Featherweight Champion. So August 4th, 1988 was the last 15-round fight. Only 12 after that. November 7th, 1988. What happened, Cass? Okay. Sugar Ray Leonard again. The first fight in many decades involving titles in 2 different categories. I think Tank and Leo Santa Cruz did that. 2 different divisions. 130 and 135 was both of them in that fight. This was the same thing, but it was, I think it was middleweight and super middleweight and middleweight, yeah. Leonard had super, Hagler had middle. Super middleweight champion, Sugar Ray Leonard. No, that was not Hagler. That was Donnie Lalonde, excuse me. Oh, Leonard was super middleweight. Donnie Lalonde was light heavyweight. Okay. Sugar Ray Leonard becomes boxing's second 4-division world champion and 5-division world champion when he knocked out WBC World Light Heavyweight Champion Donnie Lalonde in the 9th round. Also winning the WBC vacant super middleweight championship at Las Vegas. Okay. Sugar Ray had 3 divisions. In this fight, he won super middleweight and light heavyweight. So it became his 4th division and 5th division on the same night. You understand that? Yeah. 2 different divisions was up. And he won both of them. So he earned 2 plus 3 equals 5. Right? Let's go to 1989, finish up these decades. Then I'm going to give you those profiles on my 10 guys I got today. February 24th, 1989. What I got for you. Appreciate your Dre's finest. Yeah, Sugar got oh, you saw that one, Dre? Okay, yeah. And it was 2 belts up. But I'm at February 24th, 1989. The slides did pretty good. It just kept cutting off. Roberto Hands Up Stone. Roberto Duran makes history by becoming the 3rd fighter to win world titles in 4 different divisions. The first Hispanic to do so, and also the fighter with the longest period between his first and latest world championships, 17 years. He won his first one at lightweight in 72. Defeated Iran Barkley by split decision to become the WBC's world middleweight champion. That's another good one there too. Duran Barkley, 89. Now Duran had tried for 40 regions earlier in the decade, but he lost to Hagler, but he finally got it in this one when he beat Barkley. Yeah. That was his last title. First one in 72, last one in 89. March 6th. Watch your big fingers, Kurt. 1989. Before you end the entire stream, it'll be all I need. The Macho Man. WBO's first major world championship fight. Because the WBO just came around 88, I believe. Hector Macho Camacho defeats Ray Mancini by unanimous 12-round decision to win the WBO's vacant World Junior Welterweight title. And part of Hector's legacy is he started that, what they call the skirt, whatever they wear. He was the first one to wear that stuff, man. Yep. He used to wear that. He used to have a vest on like what the Trojan soldiers, whoever they were, and the helmet and everything on. Come out there with that, man. First thing like, what in the hell do you have on, Hector? Man, but now everybody's wearing. He was the only one to do it for a while there too, but that's part of his legacy. That skirt thing, whatever you call it. Is that what you call it, the skirt? I don't know. But that's part of Hector's legacy. He started that. That's the man right there that started that. If y'all don't like it, blame Hector. First one, he was the first one to wear that. May 13th, 1989. A couple more to go. Julio Cesar Chavez becomes the 13th boxer to win world titles in 3 or more different divisions. Knocked out Roger Mayweather in 10 rounds in their rematch with the WBC's World Junior Welterweight title. Yeah. Julio won the first one against Roger too. Floyd's uncle, Roger. Julio and Floyd, that's a good dream fight. Who y'all got? Julio Cesar Chavez, Floyd, Pretty Boy Floyd. May 17th, 1989. Who's that? Carlos de Leon becomes the first boxer to win the World Cruiserweight title 4 times, and also joins a handful of champions who have won world titles in one division that many times. Knocked out Sammy Reason, 9 rounds. Okay. The belt had been vacated by Evander Holyfield. And then on June 12th, 1989, Sugar Ray Leonard retains his WBC World Super Middleweight title with a 12-round draw with Thomas Hearns. I told y'all about that. I believe Hearns won that one too. To show you Hearns' boxing ability. He outboxed Sugar Ray 2 times. Never got the win because the first one, he got caught in the 14th round and got taken up out of there. And the second one, they robbed him and called it a draw. Finally, December 7th, 1989. Put some color in it for y'all. The decade in boxing finishes almost where it started. Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, yep. Defends his WBC World Super Middleweight title with a 12-round unanimous decision over Roberto Duran. This was the last fight of the 4 Kings series, 9 4 Kings series fight. Leonard and Duran also fought the first fight in the series, and they've also fought the last fight in the series. Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran. Now give me a minute. I'm going to get this profile. I got 10 boxers that competed in the 80s. 10 of the top boxers, not saying the 10 top, just 10 of the top boxers that that competed in the decade. Appreciate everybody sticking with me through the technical difficulties today. Couldn't get on yesterday, now today keeps cutting off. I don't know. But we're making it through it. Appreciate you sticking with me. Really appreciate it. Okay, now we got 10 of the top guys. And did everybody hear that O.J. Simpson passed away today? Did they say what he passed from, Miss Cass? Yeah, the juice passed away today. I don't know. Miss Cass just told me like 5 minutes before I got on. And like I'm saying, he had some legal difficulties, but he still gave us some good years in the NFL. First man to rush for 2,000 yards, remember? The juice. Yeah. Beautiful runner, man. Yeah. So, you know, whatever happened to him, you can't take that away from him, you know. The juice. Yeah. But he passed away today. I think he was in his 70s. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about these 10 of the top guys that competed in the decade of the 1980s. First one is Evander Holyfield. Yeah. Yeah, first one is Evander. There's Evander. Big head Evander. Sorry, Evander. Okay. I have some notes and stuff. There we go. Sometimes I can't read my handwriting. Okay. The juice. Yeah, Dre. You hear about it passed away today, Dre? Yeah. Yeah, that was a bad right here and it hit the ram with. And Dre, you know that detached retina, cancer. Thank you, Melody Queen 27. It was cancer. How old was he, Remo? 76. Yeah, I figured he was in his 70s. But yeah, and that detached retina on Sugar Ray Hearns did that too. Because that first fight, you see how big his eye was? It was, yeah. So Hearns did that to detach that retina on Sugar Ray. And thank you, Melody Queen 27. Cancer. And thank you, Remo, 76. Wow. Okay. Evander Holyfield. I got 10 profiles for you. Now, during the 1990s, Evander had the heavyweight title on multiple occasions. And the 90s was one of the decades of best heavyweight decades. He was one of the top stars at heavyweight. But before the 90s, we're talking about the 80s, before the 90s even started, Evander had already established himself as the greatest cruiserweight of all time, okay? He was a member of that 1984 Olympic team, member of the Night of Gold at the Garden. Evander was on that team. Turned professional that same year. 86, he beat the White Muhammad Qawi in a 15-round war. That was for the cruiserweight title, and that was just his 12th fight. Okay, got his first title with his first fight. Next couple years, he added the IBF and WBO belts to become undisputed. Excuse me, IBF and WBC. He had WBA, IBF, 3-belt undisputed because the WBO was not around it. Okay. Yeah. No, you're welcome. I'm Dre Finest any old time. It was 3-belt undisputed during his career. And by 1988, he was campaigning as a heavyweight. He had beaten top contenders like Alex Stewart, Caitlin Thomas, and Michael Doge by the end of the 80s. Okay. 90s was probably his best years at heavyweight, but we'll get into that tomorrow. Well, Monday. Because don't miss tomorrow. Tomorrow is Profile Day, and it's the Motor City Cobra himself, Thomas, the Hitman Hearns. Don't miss that tomorrow. I got a good one for you. But today, next up is Julio Cesar Chavez. Bad man. He got a couple gifts in there. Now, most of his biggest fights happened in the 90s. Okay. But by the end of the 80s, he had already established himself as legendary, a legendary star by the end of the 80s. Julio had. He captured the WBC light junior welterweight title in 1984. It ended the decade as the undefeated champion. Okay. Now, in the 80s, his record was kind of padded with some lower level fighters. But he fought a lot. He was very busy. Very busy. They also defended against some top contenders too, like Evan Rosario, Roger Mayweather, Rafael Limon, and Jose Luis Ramirez, okay? And in the second half of the 80s, he became a major name in boxing. Julio Cesar Chavez. Next up, the Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. That's Jerry Corey. He's not going to sweat off there. Okay. Oh, man. Oh, man. I didn't even drop the music down. Music okay? Well, it's been like that the whole show, so I'm going to leave it alone. Be to mess around and went out or something on. Don't touch nothing, Cass. Larry Holmes, the Eastern Assassin. They captured the vacant heavyweight title by split decision against Ken Norton in 1978. Remember, he was the fourth WBC champion in 4 months. Remember that? Had Leon Spinks. Ali started out. Leon Spinks beat Ali. They stripped Spinks because he wouldn't fight Norton. He rematched Ali. So Norton was third. Holmes beat Norton. 4 champions in 4 months. Okay. And definitely, no doubt, Holmes is one of the best fighters in heavyweight history. And he kept his championship till the middle 80s, and then he got robbed when they gave it to Michael Spinks. Michael Spinks never beat Holmes. They had 2 fights. I thought Holmes won both of them. Yeah, Purnell did beat Julio. And Dre, remember Melody Taylor? He stopped the fight with 2 seconds left. Go ahead and put it in there, Al Booker. Al Booker say, protect yourself at all times. Yeah. Now, Holmes kind of ruled over a mediocre class of heavyweights, okay, after the glory days of the 70s. But I think Holmes is kind of underrated, you know, because of some of the, because, you know, when he came along after the 70s, everybody saw that great decade of heavyweights, and you know, the 80s was kind of looked down upon after it, because the 70s was the golden era, and after Ali, Frazier, and them guys left, you know, Holmes came along in the 80s. That made him a little underrated. He had outstanding lateral movement, perhaps the best jab in the history of the heavyweight division. Probably one of the best jabs in the history of the sport. Now, like I was just talking about, he lost the belt to Spinks in 85, lost the rematch. I think he won both of them. Yeah. The rematch, probably one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. And Holmes was disgusted. He walked away for 2 years before Don King lured him back with that fight against Mike Tyson. And he came back in the 90s too. Okay. And he had one of the best over 40 careers in the history of boxing when he came back in the 90s. Larry Holmes. Next up, the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. There he is. The Hands of Stone. I like saying that. Now, Roberto Duran, during the 70s, Roberto Duran ruled the lightweight division and established himself as one of the best ever at 135. Probably the best ever. Ooh-wee. Roberto Duran against Tank. Oh, my goodness. Wow. I ain't gonna say nothing about that one. Roberto Duran against Tank. And you can make a very good argument that Roberto Duran was the best pound-for-pound fighter of the 70s. And it's hard to imagine the 80s without Roberto Duran in it, right? What y'all think about Roberto Duran versus Tank? Showtime, the guy Pass in the building. What's up, Showtime, the guy Pass? Our friend from St. Louis, Missouri there. Always good to see Showtime, the guy Pass, and he's in the building. Salute, everybody. Showtime, the guy Pass. Welcome to another episode of CASSPORTS. We're winding down, looking at 10 guys. Today was the history of the decade of the 1980s, and we're looking at 10 guys that competed in that decade. Right now, we're talking about the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. The Hands of Stone. Okay. Now, it's almost impossible to imagine the 80s without Roberto, because he was one of the four kings, remember? Him and Sugar Ray Leonard started the 80s and ended the 80s, right? And he gave Sugar Ray his first loss, won the welterweight title. He ended the decade in 1989 by beating bigger and younger Iran Barkley in a telephone booth war, and won the middleweight crown. Told y'all, Duran and Barkley, I told y'all to watch that one if you like watching old fights. Now, he had some down moments in the 80s, right? We matched with Leonard in 81, the No Moth fight, put out of frustration, right? Then he was blasted in 2 rounds by the hitman, Thomas Hearns, to profile them all. Lost to Hagler in a very good fight. And he lost the second level opponents, Kirkland Lang and Robbie Sims. But anytime it looked like Roberto was all done, he came back strong, man. 3-division champion during the 80s, 4-division counting lightweight in the 90s, but he won 3 during the 80s. Okay. He was involved in some of the biggest fights in boxing history. Legendary. The Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. The Hands of Stone. Next, Michael Spinks. Michael Spinks. There he is. Brother of Leon. Now, Spinks' lasting image from the 1980s is that, 90 seconds against Mike Tyson. But that was just one of his lowlights of the 80s. But he ruled the light heavyweight division in the 80s. But when I think of Michael Spinks, I think about that fight getting blasted by Tyson, right? And in the first half of the 80s, Spinks established himself as one of the greatest light heavyweight champions of all time. I would like to see him and Ezzard Charles. That would be a good dream. The early 80s was one of the best eras in the lightweight heavyweights history. And Spinks was unquestionably the top star of that division. Won the WBA belt in 81 by beating Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. But even to get to that title shot, he had to go through Yaki Lopez and Marvin Johnson. Too tough. Got the WBC belt in 83. He beat the great, the white Muhammad Quali. Then he got the IBF belt to become undisputed, because remember, the WBO wasn't in, we didn't have the WBO in the early 80s. So he was 3-belt undisputed. And he got the heavyweight championship in 1985. He was the first one to go from light heavyweight to heavyweight. Light heavyweight championship to heavyweight championship. Now, like I said, I don't think he deserved to beat Holmes, but they gave it to him, so that's part of his history. Yeah, Dre Benitez, I talked about him in the beginning. There's only 4 kings in the deck, so, he was left out, but, he was definitely was the 5th king. Definitely was the 5th king. Next, Iron Mike Tyson. There's Iron Mike Tyson. Now, at the start of the 80s, Mike was still in junior high school. Not regular junior high school. He was in junior high school and reform school. Mike was a bad boy. But he was handpicked by a famous boxing trainer, Custer Mato. And I'm going to do a show on him next week, Custer Mato. They hardcore asked me, so I'm going to do a show on Custer Mato next week. Okay? And Mike was handpicked by him. And Custer predicted that Mike would be heavyweight champion of the world one day. He didn't live to see it. Because remember, after Mike's 11th fight, Custer passed away. Okay. And by the end of the decade, Mike has staked his claim among the best in heavyweights history. Yeah. Compact and explosively powerful, Mike was the perfect physical specimen for D'Amato's peekaboo style. In '86, Mike broke previous D'Amato's pupil Floyd Patterson's record and became the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. Stopped Trevor Burry. He was only 20 years old. '87, he beat Tony Tubbs and James Smith to head the IBF and WBA. Also became undisputed. And he spent the rest of the decade wreaking havoc. Okay. Tyke was crushing legitimate heavyweight contenders such as Frank Bruno, Pinklon Thomas, and Tubbs and Trevor Burry. He just walked through Larry Holmes. Larry was past his prime. And Michael Spink, two all-time greats. Now, Mike fell apart in the early 90s, and he was never the same fighter again in the 90s. But he did win another title in the 90s. But the Tyson from '86 to '89 would be a danger for anybody, any heavyweight in any era. Anybody that didn't see Mike through '86 to '89 didn't see the Mike Tyson, okay? That Mike Tyson beats any heavyweight in any era. Okay, number 4, next is the Hawk. There he is. He used to point across that ring, and when that bell rang, he came out there like crazy. Aaron Pryor. In the early '80s, Aaron the Hawk Pryor emerged as the second coming of Henry Armstrong. That's why they called him Hurricane Hank. Pryor was a crowd-thrilling, violent whirlwind of destruction. In 1980, he won the title by knocking out Antonio Cervantes in 4 rounds. Then went on a 5-year reign of terror. His round 14 stoppage of Alexis Arguello in 1982 was among the greatest fights of the past 35 years. Now, his career came off the tracks in the second half of the '80s due to drug addiction. In '87, he received his only career loss against Barbie Joe Young. In retirement, he turned his life back around and has been an inspiration to other addicts to quit. He remains an extremely popular figure with the fans at events like the Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend. Now, Pryor one time was doing an interview for Sports Illustrated, and he fell asleep. He nodded out during the interview. Hi. And the reporter put a picture of him in Sports Illustrated laying there sleeping. Now, that was wrong, man. Goose Gas probably remember that. Dre might. Picture in Sports Illustrated of Aaron Pryor laying there sleeping. That guy shouldn't have did that. But I guess that was part of the interview. Next, the Hitman, Thomas Hearns. He's our profile for tomorrow. Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Okay. We're going to make it. We got 15 more minutes until the awards. I can't wait for today. After yesterday, I'm going to be the first one in the building. Okay. Thomas the Hitman Hearns. On his best nights, Hearns was as great as nearly any fighter who ever lived. Now, if he would have had a little better chin and conditioning, he could have probably been the best of all time, but his chin, very questionable. Gas tank was also a little questionable too. '81, he faced Sugar Ray Leonard in a welterweight championship, champion versus champion. Welterweight showdown. And Hearns was winning. He led all the way through the fight, up to round 14. His chin failed him. Sugar Ray knocked him through the ropes. He knocked him through the ropes in 13. They stopped it in 14. Now, he got the junior middleweight title from Wilfred Benitez in 82. Among his defenses was a second-round TKO of the Hands Up Stone, Roberto Duran. In '85, he lost by TKO to Marvelous Marvin Hagler in one of the most exciting fights of all time. 3-round fight, won Fight of the Year. I don't need to say any more about that. Now, in the second half of the '80s, Hearns added titles at middleweight and super middleweight. The only true blemish on his record in the late '80s was when he was stopped by Iran Barkley in 3 rounds in '88. Then in '89, he fought a long-awaited rematch with Leonard in another classic. This time they called it a draw. Hearns knocked Leonard down twice, right? Outboxed him, but he got robbed and they called it a draw. Next is Sugar Ray Leonard. Okay, next is Sugar Ray Leonard. There he is. That was Sugar Ray Leonard up there, but this is Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard. He was the media darling of the legendary 1976 Olympic boxing team. He was a household name way before he even turned pro. 76, 80, 84 were all classic United States boxing Olympic teams, but 80 didn't get to go because of politics. You know, that was terrible. Now, Leonard was at the center of some of the greatest storylines in boxing history in the late 70s and early 80s. In 79, he captured the WBC title from fellow great and international boxing Hall of Famer Wilfred Benitez. Now, he dropped the belt to Roberto Duran in 80, but he won it back in the No Moss fight. But, you know, he frustrated Duran so bad, Duran quit. 81, you know, he came from behind to beat Hearns, talked about it in the Hearns profile. And he had 6 fights in 1980, right? And all the fighters he faced in 80 had a combined record of 273-7. He was taking no easy fights, and it was still early in his career. After stopping Bruce Finch in 82, he retired for almost 2 years. Made a 1-fight comeback in 84, retired again. In 87, he came back again and hadn't fought in 3 years, and shocked the boxing world by taking the undisputed middleweight title from Marvin Hagler. Hagler was raw. He added titles at super middleweight and light heavyweight before the decade was over. He fought rematches with Hearns and Duran, beating Duran and getting a draw with Hearns that he didn't deserve. And of course, he stayed around too long, got knocked out by Hector Camacho in the 90s. That was his last fight, only time he ever been stopped. And finally, we got Hagler, last but certainly not least. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. His run at the top of the middleweight division in the 80s is among the most dominant reigns of any champion at any weight in boxing history. 7 years at the top of the division until he lost that controversial fight to Leonard, right? After spending much of the 70s as the sport's most avoided fighter, he finally got the middleweight title from Alan Mitchell. That was when I told you about that. They had the riot after the fight. They chased Hagler and Mitchell in England. English, when they was more mad at Mitchell than they was at Hagler for losing the fight. Okay. Now, Hagler made some tactical mistakes in that fight against Leonard. He started out fighting orthodox, right? Lost the first 2 rounds because of that, and that was part of the difference in the fight. With Marvelous Marvin Hagler. There you have it. History of the decade of the 1980s. And make sure you stop by tomorrow for the profile day. It's the Motor City Cobra himself, Thomas, the Hitman Hearns. And I appreciate everybody for stopping by today. We got The Voice coming up in 10 minutes. And don't forget, it's still early in the JBT day. I'm just the second act. We got The Voice at 4. We got Jay Hardcore spinning the block. Back in the Hangout at 8. Then we got the Mighty Rise podcast, the closer, at 9. So a lot of JBT still to come, okay? So make sure you be in there. I'm definitely not. Don't miss The Voice today after yesterday. I don't know what we expect today over there. I was feeling sorry for them Devin Haney supporters yesterday, man. And like The Voice said, it's nothing against Devin. He's a great young fighter. It's his fans, man. Just weird. Okay, just weird, man. But I appreciate everybody for rocking with me today. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. But we got through it. Don't speak too soon. We got 10 more minutes. But we got through it. And now the CASSPORTS getting ready to go in the history book. Appreciate you, Dre Finest. Always good to see you in the building. Had a pretty good crew in here today. Lights looking good. Starting to grow And I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that rocks with me. Okay. Couldn't do it. You know, any kind of product, any aspect of life is only as good as their supporters. And I got great supporters, right? And in this great JBT, with the type of channels I got behind me, like Just Do Boxing, the Hardcore Boxing News, and the Mighty Rise podcast, I can't fail. I told you I'm going down the road holding on to their coattails. And we also got Remo, hashtag Let's Talk Fashion, hashtag JBT, and McQueen's Casual's Corner. Remember, you haven't watched the fight until you watch one after watching the Casual's Corner breakdown. Okay. And remember, we still got, we're looking for others to join us in the JBT. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. And we meet every Saturday at 1 o'clock. We still got some positions to fill. You ain't doing nothing Saturday at 1 o'clock. Stop by. Just J Hardcore will have the link Saturday morning. All are welcome. You know, we have fun in there. Get a lot of things done. So yeah, stop by Saturday at the meeting. Hashtag JBT. Just boxing talk. That's all it is. Right? And remember, don't forget tomorrow, the profile is Thomas the Hitman Hearns. We got the voice coming up in about 5 minutes. But that's Fire Balance Boxing Talk, the voice of the streets. And I just can't say enough about that one he put down yesterday, man. Wow, I enjoyed that. I'm feeling sorry for the Devon fans, man. They had to be hiding under a rock or something somewhere. But we getting ready to go over there today. I'm going to take you right up to the voice's doorstep. Then we going on up into the building. CASSPORTS, the Boxtorian, y'all. Just boxing talk, that's all. I'll be back at 2 tomorrow. Hope everybody enjoyed the show today. I enjoyed bringing it to you. Tomorrow, Monday will be the last decade show, history of the 1990s, which was supposed to be today, but I couldn't get on yesterday. I don't know why. Then I kept cutting off today, but we got through it, like I said. And got a big week planned for you next week too. I'm going to do a show on Custody Motto. They hardcore asked me to do that one, so that's going to be part of next week. And I got right after the decade show, with Tuesday I'm going to do a show on. I'm going to go back to each decade and pick out who I think was the most dominant boxer in that decade and do a little talk about them a little bit, okay? So don't miss that. And the Custody Motto. And I got a big week planned for you next week. Don't miss it. CASSPORTS, the Boxtorian. But I'm getting ready to get out of here now. It's almost time for me to get out of the way of the voice. I might as well get off at 4 because ain't nobody going to be in here nowhere. Everybody going to be over there at the voice. And y'all ain't going to leave me here. I'm going over there too. I told you I'm trying to be the first one in the building. I want a front row seat for this one because after yesterday, that was a bill there, man. That was a bill. I know anybody missed that, you got to go back and watch that one. You are much appreciated. Melanie Queen 27. And there's BN Boxing News in the building. Another Fire channel. We trying to get him on in this lineup. He's going to be in there eventually. He don't know it yet, but he's going to be in there. But he's dropping fire content again over there. BN Boxing News. Turn on your notifications, you know, so you can catch him. You don't have a set schedule yet. So turn on your notifications. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and catch BN Boxing News. Putting down fire content. He talked about AB, that situation. Lisa Baumgartner, Devin and Ryan's situation coming up. So salute BN Boxing News. Another Fire JBT channel. I appreciate everybody. Melanie Queen 27, one of the queens of the JBT, along with Miss Cass, Miss Joette, Heather E, Barbara D, Miss Just Do Boxing. Yeah, we got some great women boxing minds in this JBT too, man. I love that. because I got a boxing wife, so I really appreciate the women when they get down with the boxing talk. Yes. I remember when I first met Miss Cass, man, we watching fights and she talking about, no, we shouldn't have threw the left, and why did he step that way? I stopped watching the fight. I'm looking at her, mouth gaped open. Ooh, I gotta kiss her. And I got her. She right down the hall. But let me get ready to get out of here, y'all. Okay? Appreciate everybody. Be in boxing news. Showtime the guy passed. Dre Finest. Just Do Boxing the Voice. Coming up in about 5 minutes. MZ, EMZID. Hope you enjoyed the show. MZ, EMZID. Hope you come back for another one. Melanie Queen 27. I just spoke about all the queens of the hangout. Bruce Gads, Boxing Jazz, and more. Another Fire History channel. That's where I go to get my history. Petey Rican was in the building. Hope you enjoyed the show and come back again. Petey Rican. Thomas Hill, hashtag JBT, the mayor of YouTube. That's who gave me my name, the Box Story. I love it, but I had to use it because if I don't, the mayor of YouTube will have me out of here off the air quick, fast, and I heard. Appreciate you, Mr. Mayor. Thomas Hill, hashtag JBT. Lonnie Lee, hashtag JBT. Attentive at McQueen from Casual's Corner. You haven't watched the fight until you watch one after watching the Casual's Corner. Mike Rem, big time JBT member and CASSPORTS supporter. Jury Finks, part of our technological team. I tell you, we got the technological and analytical covered in the JBT with Jury Finks and McQueen and Remo. I ain't worried about nothing on that. Then Remo, hashtag Let's Talk Fashion, hashtag JBT. There's another fire, hashtag Let's Talk Fashion out there. Make sure you check that out. I'll probably watch it again tomorrow. I've seen it once already, but we got to wait till next Wednesday, so we got to watch that one over. But it's all good. I don't want no smoke, Remo. The Boxing Menu part, the Boxing Menu Plus, excuse me. Get over there and subscribe to him. Maybe. He started a new channel. Maybe you haven't resubscribed, so check it out. Al Booger, another big time JBT member and CASSPORTS supporter. Al Booger always in the building. D for the win. Another big time JBT member and CASSPORTS supporter. JAE was in the building today. Hope you stuck around and enjoyed the show. Justin James, hashtag JBT. Another one of them big time JBT members and supporters. Mike Mason, another one of them big time JBT members, CASSPORTS supporters. Salute Mike Mason. Another one is always in the building, here early and stays here late. Hell yeah. And the Mighty Rise podcast, the closer. They close the day down for the JBT, turns off the lights, and closes the door until tomorrow. And Miss Cass, hashtag JBT, the executive vice president of CASSPORTS, the treasurer of CASSPORTS, the secretary of CASSPORTS, the brains behind the CASSPORTS operation. I couldn't do it without Miss Cass. Salute Miss Cass, hashtag JBT, everybody. And I appreciate everybody. Another CASSPORTS is now in the history books. Really appreciate everybody for rocking with me. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 with the profile. This week is Thomas, the Hitman Hearns, the Motor City Cobra himself. Don't miss it. And then remember, next week we finish up the decades with the 90s. Then we're going to do a show on the most dominant boxer from each decade, who I think it is. I know Al Booger going to have something to say about that. Salute Al Booger. And that's it. Everybody have a good day. Really appreciate you rocking with me. See you over at The Voice. Everybody have a good one. CASSPORTS, y'all. Freestyle Media Sports, hashtag JBT salute. Everybody get over there and subscribe to Freestyle Media Sports too. Another fire channel. Gray Patterson from Jersey is here. Salute, gentlemen. See everybody tomorrow at 2.